obviously the questions will start flowing, but before we get in, we've obviously got some questions we wanted to go through beforehand. And it's probably best before we kick into it, if you're okay, to kind of introduce yourself a little bit, but mainly around who it is that you follow in the real NHL.
Yeah, I'm just from Tampa, so I'm a big Tampa Bay Lightning fan. I started really following hockey when 2011, 2012, it was like St. Louis and LeCavier's last runs,
Nice, yeah.
but Kucherov is the one that really, really got me into it. He got me starting to play it. So
nice. And do you still play
but,
it now?
Yeah, I have my beer league championship tonight. So
nice. Good.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, well, somebody who's followed the NHL for a long period of time, obviously, as you can tell from the accent, British, which makes following the NHL difficult. And back when I originally started following it, so I'm going to give my age away a little bit here, but maybe predated some of the streaming services that you can use nowadays. So literally
Right.
meant recording it at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, the highlight shows they used to have. But yeah, no beer league for me. I'm lethal on skates, but for all the wrong reasons. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm just a grinder out there. I go out, I'm flying around, but I can't really stop. So
I like that grinder, the Pat Maroon style. Like it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you'd be nice to know that so far you've mentioned you're a Tampa Bay fan, and nobody has posted any horrible comments. So that's a good start.
That is a very good sign. You know, a lot of salty people out there.
Well, you see now, Zeppo, the downside with this is that unfortunately, because Tyler is on Zoom, he actually can't see the comments, but I'll read them to you. But he's put Corns is your territory, I think. I hope that means something to you. It does to me. But that's
what do you say?
Fine. Corns is your territory, I think is what it's for, or you are territory. But I'm supposed it's going to be saying your. But we'll. You have to be more obvious for your comment steps. Come on, mate. Right. Well, let's get straight to questions, because that's what we're here to talk about. The last episode saw us discussing the entry draft. And my somewhat biased opinion, and I haven't got a Seattle top on today. It's still tattooed underneath here, but I'm going to try and be biased or unbiased. But obviously the entry draft is gone. Now we could go through all 31 picks in the first round draft, which is probably immensely boring. So I just wanted to know from your side, Tyler, what was the biggest surprise in the entry draft for you?
Probably some of the big name forwards that they didn't pick. I think they have a really good blue line. They got their goalie in free agency. So, but I've just been doing a lot of thinking about it, and all these forwards that they passed up on. But sometimes all the guys need is a chance.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not. Yeah, not getting enough minutes. I mean, Carter Verhaeghe played for the Lightning for, I think, 2 seasons, and he won the Cup last year, and he went to the Florida Panthers this year, and now he's on the top line, and he was on our 4th line. So, I mean, sometimes it's just situations, and could be the right time for some of these younger guys that usually don't play a lot of minutes. Like, they drafted Yanni Gourde from the Lightning. He's on our 3rd line, but he's going to be their first-line center, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I agree.
And he's a heck of a player. So sometimes, like I said, you just need a chance.
Yeah, and I think I felt like that around quite, because flicking back to the entry draft in a second, but a lot of people have started to say the Seattle team, it's not very good, it looks weak, which I think obviously it does look weaker than I think what some people were expecting, but partly that's because they just didn't have the options there. And the last thing you want to be, and I know that we try and avoid this in NHL, but you don't want to be that team that's kind of middling around, that's not good enough to win the Cup, but is good enough to make the playoffs, but not much more than that. Because what happens in the long run is you become Detroit, which is you end up with awful draft picks for a long period of time, but not winning anything. So no, and obviously Detroit won a lot of things over a long period of time, but it's been a while. So I'm not. Yeah, I agree. I think there's a few players on that team. It would be interesting to see how they play in the blue jersey in comparison to how they played in their previous one.
Yeah.
In terms of the picks, I mean, Power going at number 1, no surprise there. Bernier number 2. I mean, I'm not going to say that I called it on this channel, but I kind of did because a centre, United States born centre is in Seattle.
Yeah.
Always going to take him, right? Always going to take him. And
I forgot to mention him too. So I think he's going to be a stud.
I think so. I mean, I'm biased, so pinch of salt.
No, I agree with you there.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think about the Montreal pick? Because that's the one that's cutting the room. I mean, maybe we have to be a little careful what we say on the stream, but
yeah, I did not. I thought it was a horrible decision, honestly. But if he was going to get drafted, I would have respected his wishes and kind of let him grow up without the spotlight. But
it's going to be tough to do that now. I mean, and also the team that's taken him. If he'd have gone to a team that maybe hockey wasn't the only sport in that play, and look, Montreal have other sports teams. I know that before we end up having a lot of hate mail thrown at us, but let's be honest, it's hockey and everything else is second.
Right.
The kid's young. Obviously, what he did was wrong, but he is young, and you hope that he, like you said, you hope he can mature and learn from it. And obviously, he's paid his penalty, so to speak. But Montreal,
I just think it's going to be a lot harder for him to kind of get past it. It's like I feel like it's always going to be there now.
Yeah, I completely agree. I know we were kind of flicking backward and forward between the two drafts, but everyone was kind of expecting after the expansion draft there to be this kind of raft of side deals, because when people saw the team, a lot of people thought, there's got to be a side deal there, but the time expired and they could announce the trades and nothing happened.
Right.
What's your take on the amount of side trades? Do you think that that's a sign of the league maturing in terms of their way with the expansion draft, or do you think it's a cap kind of drive?
There was only one, right, to Calgary?
And even that was Tyler Pitlick,
just for a fourth, fourth round pick. And I just think the GMs learned their lesson from Vegas, because Vegas they took advantage of a lot of teams with all the side deals that they made. But either the GMs learned their lesson, or like you said, the cap.
I mean, the cap's definitely played a factor. I mean, we've seen so many strange trades and so many strange going on. It's just
Arizona,
yeah. If you've got a bad contract, then you're going to end up in the desert. It's just bizarre.
Yeah.
And, I mean, one of the things that's on here, because one of our questions, so we're gonna flick around off our list here, but I understand what Arizona were doing a few years ago when they were eating all the bad contracts. And I agree, Zeppo. In terms of the side deals we saw with Vegas, like the Theodore deal, like the Tuck deal as well. I mean, obviously, most people kind of forget that Tuck was a side deal. And it was all organized so that they didn't take Dumba in the expansion draft.
Right.
But I think that teams worked out that if they left their stars as UFAs, or even RFAs to be honest, but mainly UFAs, like Seattle weren't going to take them. So, I mean, if you think about Washington managed to protect Oshie, which was the player that everyone thought was going to be exposed, because they didn't have to protect Ovechkin. So I agree with Tyler. I think, GMs wised up to it, but the cap situation definitely was part. But flicking back to Arizona, when they were eating the contracts kind of 4 or 5 years ago, which is how they got the players like Clayton Keller and a few others, it made sense because they were rebuilding. But now you've got a team where they're just coming into that premium age, if you will, kind of early 20s, where you would expect to be starting to see them developing. And it almost feels like it's a reset. Like their team next year looks like it's going to be, well, I won't say awful, but it's certainly not got any better.
I would say awful.
You know, because they've not re-signed Ranta unless that's happened today, and I've been asleep.
I think did Carolina sign him? I think they did.
Right, there we go. This is where the internet is my friend, and we're going to try and find out who signed today. It could be one of the new features. Who signed today in the hockey world? I can't see him on there. I can see the Warren Fogle contract, but we'll come back to Edmonton later because I don't even know if we've got time to talk about Edmonton. That's a conversation on its own.
Right.
I can't see it there. But obviously Darcy Kemper was the big move because Kemper got moved to the Avalanche after the Avalanche lost their goalie who ended up in Seattle. And whether or not Dreiger's now sat there thinking, oh, come on, like I thought I was going to be the number one, and now you bought a number one. But
I thought that's why they picked him.
And I think kind of best laid plans, that's exactly why they picked him, to be the number one. But a little bit like the thing with Fleury, I think when you've got a goalie like Grubauer's quality, and people can say, oh, the contract's a bit lofty. I don't know. I think if you asked Florida or Montreal if they'd rather have their goalies on $6 million than 10, I think they'd say yes. So it's not a bad contract. But I mean, so if they don't re-sign Ranta, which it looks like they probably haven't done, they're going to be playing Hill in goal, with then arguably no backup behind him. They're just, I can't understand like why they're tanking again, because there's going to be players surely like Clayton Keller who's going to be sat there thinking, I don't want to go back round this again. It's a real mess.
Yeah, I don't know if they're gonna be willing to wait it out again.
No. I mean, I'll load up.
I mean, there's names like Shane Wright and Bedard and Mitchkov coming, but I mean that's still 2 to 3 years down the road for them to develop even.
And that's if you get one of them. Exactly. I was saying one of the guys who just posted in saying, "Don't understand why."
And you have to get lucky in the lottery.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, one of the guys who just posted in the chat saying that I don't understand why they would have traded Garland, and I agree. And his contract looked a little bit high for me. I thought it was a little bit pricey. But still, if anybody could have taken on a contract like that, it would have been Arizona. I mean, you're talking they've got Clayton Keller, and I'm trying to spot good players that they've got. Clayton Keller's locked in for 7 years. Hasn't got no movement though, because obviously he wasn't old enough, which was a stipulation. Until we started doing that in the NHL on our slide, I had no idea that was the thing.
Me, I didn't either.
Yeah, there you go. The better benefits of being sad and playing computer games. Nick Schmaltz is locked in for 5 years. Christian Dvorak. That's it. Like everybody else is on 1 year deals, except for Andrew Ladd, who, let's be honest, is going to be on the physio table for the next 2 years, and then he's going to leave. I mean, their defense, they've got Anton Strawman, who's on 1 year deal, Chekron, who's on 4 years, Gostisbehere, I mean, okay, he's on 2 years, and then Connor Timmins, obviously, who's come in and he's a UFA, but RFA, sorry, I believe. That's it. And they're 2 goalies, by the way. They have signed one. They've signed Carter Hutton on a 1 year deal. I mean,
they've got to be the worst team right now.
I know. I mean, a franchise so bad that they make Buffalo look like they know what they're doing. I mean, that is hard going.